Welcome into A to Z Sports on a Friday. We're getting this thing started, and we got a special guest, Jonathan Crompton, former Tennessee Volunteers quarterback. Austin is on vacation, but the show rolls on, and we got a lot to discuss today, including the Tennessee Volunteers quarterback. Now, they don't have a massive game this week, but Florida and Alabama do. And so we'll get a good taste of what Florida is because Tennessee has them on the horizon. We'll hear a little bit of video from Josh Heupel. We have got a packed show today, plus very curious to hear not only the chat, but also, Jonathan, your best and worst thing that you've seen from the Tennessee Volunteers just through two games. They had a tough game against Pitt. I thought they were going to come back and win. They got up 10-0. Pitt fought back, but they couldn't get the job done. They're 1-1. The season, they still got plenty of games to play. I'm curious to see what the best and worst thing that you've seen. We'll also preview a little bit of Florida and Alabama because that is the game of the week. And Crompton, just right before the show started, just told me something very sobering for SEC East teams when it comes to Alabama. You could share that a little bit later in the show. And we also have good news. So excited about this Friday and introducing former Tennessee Volunteer quarterback and guest host, Jonathan Crompton.
Dude, appreciate you having me. Austin, hope you have fun on vacation. Kind of jealous, to be honest with you, but it's going to be a fun day today.
It absolutely is. Tell the fine folks at home what they need to do.
Well, right now they need to download the BetMGM app today for tonight's game, UCF at Louisville. Code A to Z100, $1 money line wins you $100 if either team scores a touchdown. Now, that's just great odds. I don't care what anybody says. That's phenomenal. I'm probably going to do it myself, so everybody join me. Let's have some fun tonight.
That's fabulous. Plus, share the show around. We were broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter, and also Twitch. Sharing is caring. Caring is sharing. Share the show around on this Friday. But let's get this party started. Welcome into A to Z Sports. I am Zach Bingham. He is Jonathan Crompton. We have a loaded show today. We are powered by BetMGM. You see that promo code right there on the screen, A2Z Sports. You can download the app and win big this weekend. Also, got to thank our presenting sponsors because they make all of this possible, including Mandu. 15-minute workout is absolutely what you need. I did it on Wednesday. Your first workout is free. Wilson County Hyundai. I absolutely love my Hyundai. They have your perfect make and model at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. And the Bone and Joint Institute right there in Franklin, the state-of-the-art facility. If you're injured, something's gone wrong as you've gotten a little bit older, well, you can go right there to their specialists at the Bone and Joint Institute, plus Renter's Warehouse, renterswarehouse.com right here in Nashville, $89 a month. That's all it takes if you need to rent out a property that you own. They are the professional landlords. They will take care of it. They've got you covered at renterswarehouse.com. All right, Crompton, let's get this party started with Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel this week on Wednesday, this is what he said when asked about the Vols quarterback situation, and in particularly Joe Milton going into this game. What kind of information he's going to give? Well, he gave this information.
Coach, if he's healthy, is he your starter? Or is
I mean, we'll find out where he's at and where he's during the course of the week, and so there's multiple factors that play into who the guy that's going to be taking snaps.
A whole lot of nothing. He didn't tell us much. So, Crompton, my first question, what have you kind of seen from Milton? We saw Hooker come in the game last week against Pitt. He showed some good and bad things, but what have you seen from Joe Milton from the first two games that Tennessee has played, just overall in quarterback play?
I mean, it's really hard to say. I mean, I say that in all honesty because, right now he's at 51% completion percentage. But if you go watch the tape, he's got to get more comfortable. He's overthrowing everybody. He's letting his arm kind of do all the work rather than letting his mechanics and trust for the system. And I say that with an asterisk because he's only been in the system prior to last week, 20 practices. So it's not like there's a lot of trust there right now. It's just he's got to learn to take what they give you. And right now it's either feast or famine, it looks like. It's either just straight up home run ball or we're going to throw a screen route or a bubble route, which are essentially the same thing. So I'm not, I like what I saw at the beginning of the season, the first couple drives, but he's got to show the ability to hit the intermediate and the deep when the deep is open to really gain everybody's trust.
Yeah, well, and I thought going into the season, there's a reason why he transferred to Tennessee, right? Heupel brought him in for a reason, and he ended up being the starter. Physically, he is so gifted at quarterback, right? I mean, and we saw that at Michigan. There was a reason why he was such a highly recruited there. Transfers to Tennessee, comes in, has a very short window to learn Heupel's offense. Have you felt like, obviously the offense has improved from what we've seen with Garantano and the previous regime. Yes. Have you seen what you've wanted to see just in 2 games from Milton being able to kind of control the offense? Maybe not necessarily his physical skills and we'll get to his rocket arm and the good and bad of that, but just being able to understand and execute the offense that he's asked to do.
Yeah, I think that's there for sure. It's more so on the coaches to adjust the game plan. If you listen to the game last week with Alabama, Bill O'Brien's got three game plans depending on who's playing quarterback. They all are different. So hopefully our guys have a similar deal going. With Milton's going to be a little more close to home, a little more, a little smaller, I would say, just because of the practices he's had. He hasn't had a spring. Not to say anything about him. It's just he hasn't had the time to learn all the in-depth parts of the offense that the other guys have. But then kind of touch on what you said. They brought him in for a reason. So they've obviously seen or not seen something in everybody else. So they're like, we want this guy to come in. And we'll kind of scale back the offense to let him play. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. It really is to see. But we need to open up things a little more and not be as predictable, because when we start getting into SEC play, as everybody knows, that is a totally different ballgame. Bowling Green and Pitt, don't get me wrong, Pitt might be a sleeper in the ACC to kind of wreck up the ACC a little bit, but it's not like they're a powerhouse. So that's my thing, is we've got to be able to be a little more consistent with our game plan, not be as predictable as well, especially going to get into SEC play soon.
Yeah, well, and that Pitt game, man, they started out so well. They had the block punt. They're up 10-0. You felt like Pitt was going to make a comeback. They had the quarterback, and they had the team to come back. But Tennessee down the stretch, we're going to talk about Hendon Hooker here in a second. But I do want to play this clip from WATE-TV in Knoxville, Channel 6. They had a package that they ran on Joe Milton and Heupel discussing maybe some of the overthrows and maybe some of the things that they asked Milton to do that he couldn't execute in that first and second quarter prior to his injury, because he had players that could have scored, that could have extended that lead and changed the game.
Oh yeah.
Wanted us to view this.
We'd call those plays with any of the quarterbacks too. We have confidence in those guys. We've seen Joe hit those plays in practice and scrimmages, competitive situations where you're going good on good too. And there's plenty of guys running behind the defense that we got to hit. And whether that's more air on the ball, whether it's driving it on them, on a couple of them, at the end of the day, quarterback's got to make it right with his arm and deliver in accuracy.
So you saw it there.
Yeah.
Overthrows. That has kind of been the book out on Milton. And I saw a comment earlier just saying, Ed Rogers says Milton equals disappointment. I've been disappointed in the overthrows, absolutely, right? Because you got to hit those. And that's his ability, is he has the rocket arm to make those big plays, but you haven't seen that. What's the problem there in your opinion?
Well, I've touched that on on our weekly show, halftime and postgame show, where it's all about fundamentals with our shoulders. I always tell the guys that I work with, shoulders have to be level to your throw. If I'm throwing 10 yards ahead of me, obviously that's going to be different if I'm throwing 50 yards. I've got to tilt my shoulders a little bit because of the trajectory. The ball has to be different on every type of throw. And you can tell he's relying on his arm. Don't get me wrong, dude's got a cannon. I'm talking about, I don't know if I've seen an arm this strong in a long time, just pure natural ability to be able to throw it. But that doesn't necessarily transfer to games. But, the positive is I say it's only game 2. We obviously don't know where he's at injury-wise, but given the time, if he had spring, it would be a little different because right now you can tell he's feeling the pressure of I've got to hit it. I've got to hit it. He hasn't had the time with the receivers in the summer and all this to really work on the continuity of how they run routes, what their actual speed is. Game speed is a little different. And I see a comment, he has no touch. 100% agree with that. Won't deny that at all. So one of the best things a quarterback can have is touch.
Can you develop that? I mean, as a quarterback, look, you played the majority of your life quarterback. That was your life, right?
Yeah.
Can you develop, and you yourself had a pretty damn strong arm. How do you hone that in? And, accuracy, it's the number one. I mean, I think it's the number one attribute that you need as a quarterback to be successful and make it to the league and do all of that stuff. You have to have some intangibles. But if you have this gift and you don't know how to use it, what's it worth, right? Can you develop, can the coaches, that was a problem with Jeremy Pruitt's coaching staff. And Butch Jones and the list goes on, is with the players they had, they could not take their skill set and improve them. Yes. Can Milton improve his touch and his accuracy? And can the coaching staff, Heupel's coaching staff, do that?
Yeah. Joe Burrow. Look at his junior year. Average year, right, at LSU. Joe Brady comes in. They hone a few things in. The system fit him perfectly. Voila. But I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with Milton. I'm just saying those things can happen. It's just getting with the right people, and the right people that know what they're talking about and know how to teach you specifically, because every kid learns differently. You know what I mean? Every kid needs to be coached in a certain way. Some kids like to be yelled at and screamed at and, oh, yeah, that type of – some people don't like to be yelled at. It just depends on their mentality. So he needs to get with somebody that can get to him, get the information to him properly and show him how to do it. And just you're going to have to drill it over and over and over where it becomes second nature. Then it turns into games. So it takes some time, but it can be done.
In the problem that they got Florida next week? It's
not going to happen in a week. I hate to say it. It's not going to happen. But what they can do is they can design plays, which you can tell they've done. The plays, or the play I talked about last week at the halftime and at the end of the game, was when they snuck the tight end right up the middle. Milton overthrew it. Hooker hit him. It was the same play. They designed that perfectly for that defense against Pitt. So getting him kind of easy throws, but not necessarily for him, not necessarily 20 yards down the field, but, 10 and under, just to get his confidence going, then start extending it down. You can tell that's kind of, or at least that's my opinion on where they need to go with him. Some guys like to just go take a deep shot right off the bat, and they don't care if they overthrow it. Well, when you've overthrown 6 touchdowns, somewhere in that range, you need to reel that back in a little bit and get some confidence built back within yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, let's get to our first question, get some the chat involved, and that is, which quarterback, is it Joe Milton or Hendon Hooker, which we'll talk a little bit more about Hooker in this segment, gives the Vols the best chance to win? Plus, we'll sprinkle a little Harrison Bailey on the tail end of that. Now, he didn't get an opportunity, but this week they play an inferior opponent, so you're going to get probably some quarterbacks getting some playing time. But which quarterback, is it Milton or Hooker, gives the Vols the best chance to win? We're asking you guys that in the chat, comment in the comment section. But first, I am going to talk about our great sponsor, Mandu. Get your workout on. Your first workout is absolutely free. They are the pulse of fitness. 15 minutes simulates 5 hours in the weight room. I know that's crazy, but it is the truth. I do it every single week. I'm in Green Hills here in Nashville. It's about 3 minutes up the road. I did one Wednesday. I have the opportunity. I may do one Sunday morning before our game day show live at Mill Creek Tap Room for the Titans, because I'll have some time. It's an afternoon game because they're playing in Seattle. But Mandu has got you covered. First workout, absolutely free. It will change your life. It has changed Austin and myself's lives. We make it a part of our routine. Go to mandu.com and schedule your first workout. Crompton, please go tell the people about BetMGM for them to win a little bit of money.
Yeah, they need to download the BetMGM app today. Tonight's game, UCF Louisville, code A to Z 100, $1 money line bet. Guys, $1. I'm gonna probably waste $1, or not waste it, but spend $1 tonight on this money line. Either team scores a touchdown, $100 to you. You can't beat those odds, 100 to 1. We look for those all the time. So download the BetMGM app today and let's have some fun.
A to Z Sports. We are powered by BetMGM. The question we asked you guys was, which quarterback, Joe Milton or Hendon Hooker, gives the Vols the best chance to win? Clayton says he'd like to see Harrison Bailey. I'm curious to see.
I knew somebody was going to do it.
But yeah. Your opinion on that is here in a second. Jeff says Hooker. Milton is trash, like he's been saying. That's Big Ten Jeff right there. Danny D says, I think Hooker does right now, but rather see Milton try to put it together for his upside. Sean Gill says Hooker. I still think Bailey will have the best passing game, though. Danny says, look, I don't know. Milton missed throws, but when Hooker came in, didn't see it get it done. And that was the truth last week. Hooker had his opportunity to beat Pitt, and I think we'd be singing a different tune. Tim comes in there and says, we've seen all of Milton we need to make a decision. So it's got to either be Hooker or Bailey. Crompton, where do you go on this question? And I'll just open-end it. Which quarterback gives the Vols the best chance to win on the roster?
This week or overall? Because to me,
I think any quarterback can win this week.
Well, or let me tell you, okay, I got you. I'm with you. I'm 100% agree with that. So for obviously this week, I'm gonna go with Hooker just because we don't know Milton's health yet. And I'm gonna slightly disagree with somebody that said when Hooker came in, we didn't get it done. Well, if we call a different fourth down play, we get it done. 4th and 2 centimeters, and we do something stupid, right? So to me,
that was the game.
And then again, that is football. So I'm saying I'm disagreeing because of that, but guess what? He's also right. We didn't get it done. So I'm going to go with the play call of why we didn't get it done, but bottom line is we didn't do it. So I'm still going to go Hooker though this week. I just think if you look at the numbers, I mean, I'll read them off real quick. He's only played a little over 2 quarters, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
So Milton's got technically 4, even though he came out with like 2 drives left to Bowling Green. So 4, he's got 5.5. We'll say that. So 2.5 to 5.5. And Hooker's got more passing yards, 193 to 189. Right. Now those have asterisks because of the deep throw.
If Milton would have hit on any of those passes,
you know what?
I said if Milton would have hit on any of those deep passes, that's
what I said. That's an asterisk. But the bottom line is, at least Hooker's hitting them. He's 16 of 22 in 2.5 quarters for 193, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Now the interception was bad, but that also comes from he hasn't gotten any game reps yet. He's probably not getting a lot of these plays in practice. So I'm going to say right now the upside is with Hooker. Especially this week, get him almost like a spring game type feeling. Go out there, do what we got to do early, get him out by halftime or halfway through the third. Let Bailey go in, get some reps with that way. But yeah, I mean that's just my opinion.
I think I agree with you, Crompton, because Milton, his arm strength is a catch-22. You love it, but it's useless. A gun is useless without any bullets.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And I feel like that's kind of what Joe Milton is. He's useless because he doesn't know how to use his arm. You can throw it 70 yards, but nobody gives a damn if nobody catches it, right?
Exactly.
And that has been the case. Let's face it. We've seen a little bit. I don't think we've seen enough, but we've seen a little bit to say that he cannot accurately throw that deep ball that can change games, that can change this program, that can change the perception of Tennessee fans and what they think about Joe Milton. And I think that is the problem. What do you need right now? I think you need a guy more like, and we'll get to Harrison Bailey here in a second, but more like Hendon Hooker. And I agree with you. I think this week, Heupel will make the right decision and play Hooker. Even if Milton was available, I think you should still get Hooker reps. Because what are you going to have to do? And it's kind of it kind of goes back on the scheme and philosophy, but Heupel wants quick pace, right? He doesn't have the players to do that quite yet. You can't be Louisiana Lafayette and Raging Cajuns against SEC teams, like we saw last night in Ohio, Ole Miss does it. They're quick, but if you go against really good defenses, you're going to go 3 and out, and you're going to give them the opportunity to score a lot more often. I think Hooker can get you quick first downs and then go up. You run the football, you run a little bit of clock, and that's what you're going to have to do to manage games in the SEC with the roster you have today.
Yeah. Well, and I said that last week and this is not a slight on any kid on that roster. Because bottom line is you're playing in the SEC. It's not like nobody's necessarily bad. But this is where I touched on week 1 when it came to Milton. And I'll use the guy's name, Quincy Avery. I know some people love him, some people hate him. I like him for the simple fact that he tells it how it is and he tells what he believes is true. Okay, just because you're a Division I coach or a professional NFL team coach does not mean you know what you're doing. Just bottom line. And I don't know these coaches on the staff. That's not what I'm getting at. But I'm saying that to kind of reiterate what you said about the arm strength. The most overrated attribute as a quarterback. Arm. That is the most overrated. Go look, and it's funny. I'm going to use Peyton Manning because not because of Tennessee, because he has some really good one-liners over the years about his arm. When Richard Sherman tried to make fun of him about not throwing spirals. Well, I throw Super Bowl ducks, right? So at the end of the day, if you know where you're throwing the ball and when to throw it, you don't have to have a cannon. And that's where these coaches got to get with Milton and physically teach him the ins and outs of the offense. So because the most upside is him by far. Size, 6'4", 6'5", 240, can run really well, throw the piss out of a ball. So he has the most upside, but they've got to get the coaching down. Look what happens when you go to an Alabama, right? It doesn't matter what coach is in there. They somehow always get developed.
Right. You can have Jacob Coker or you can have, Bryce Young that is now the quarterback.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so they bring in the right coaches that know how to develop the player, because when you go to college, you're a kid. You're not a man. You're a kid. Some kids go to college at 17. Some go at 18, depending on the state. Some go at 19. But you're still a kid. You're not fully developed in your athletic ability yet. It's just not going to happen. So that's my thing is I think this week Hooker gives us the best chance just because of health, and he's completing the ball. But they've got to do something with Milton because the kid's upside is off the charts. But they've got to get him developed more fundamentally, and that's on the coaches.
No, and you're absolutely right. I think Brent brings up a comment I don't fully agree with because he starts out with this week doesn't matter. I think for Tennessee, actually,
this does matter.
This does matter because of the situation you're in. If you were comfortable in the first 2 weeks and Milton was really, really good, but somehow Pitt just beat you at the end or something like that, then you could go into this week saying, hey, probably doesn't matter. It's just about getting reps. But I think you've got such a question mark with the injury to Milton. And look, we'll hear it again. Heupel basically dipped, dodged, dived, all the other D's for this question on when he was asked this week who's going to start at quarterback.
If he's healthy, is he your starter? Or is
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out where he's at and where he's during the course of the week. And so there's multiple factors that play into who the guy that's going to be taking snaps.
I'm not going to answer your question right now, so I'm just going to say this and move forward. And that's kind of what he did. I actually don't blame him because I think, Compton, I think you and I are on the same page. I think Hooker needs to take the majority of these snaps.
Yes.
Because, I really, truly believe that Hooker, if you kind of settle him down, he's played – now both have played big-time football, but Hooker has experience at Virginia Tech. He has. He's played more big-time football. And Milton – I mean, he's kind of having the same problems that he had in Michigan in his short time there. And so that means, and he's not had a lot of time to correct that, but got the starting job. Unfortunate injury popped up. Where is Harrison Bailey in this conversation? We all know Brian Maurer, is on the internet right now doing something. I don't know what he's doing, but he's not playing. Harrison Bailey was the highly touted, gunslinger out of Georgia that was coming in there with all of these records, that threw all of these touchdown passes. The unfortunate situation, he went to Tennessee, The coaching staff changed. So, the playing time changed. Let's just face it. They get 2 guys to come in and transfer because that is the new look of college football. Yep. And he gets demoted. All of a sudden, he blinks his eye and he wakes up in Knoxville and he's 3rd-string quarterback.
Yep.
Should he get an opportunity? Can he get an opportunity? Do you want to see him get an opportunity, or is this just a transfer portal waiting to happen?
Oh man, how long do we have today?
Well, hey, we have as long as you want.
Because the way I look at it, me and Charlie kind of touched on this last week a little bit. This week, I hate to say it this way, Bailey's best thing that could happen was Milton going down last week for the fact of this week coming up. Because now what we all expect and what should happen is Hooker should go in. We should beat the brakes off of them. We should, because we're better than them, right? And Bailey needs to be in the game sometime right at halftime or first or second drive in the 3rd quarter and let him get reps to see what he can do. Because I know, and myself included, but we're all interested to see what type of offense they would run with him. All right. Is it going to be just straight up drop back out of the shotgun, right? Is it going to be play action, RPOs, whatever? We don't know. So for him, this week's huge. And I touched on this last week. This is just a personal opinion. If I'm him and I don't get reps this week, might have to chunk the deuces, fellas. And I say that because, and I don't say that in a bad way. It's just the fact that that's what college football is now. When I was playing, it wasn't that way. But now you get the one free transfer, all this stuff. If he doesn't play this week against a lesser team, and then he's not going to play unless it's injury once SEC plays, because we've seen they haven't done it yet, he might be having that inner circle conversation of what's our next move. And
I want to see.
I hate to see it, but that's the reality of football now.
I want to see him. I want to see him play. I think that he was my choice. Again, I was not at fall camp. I didn't watch a damn practice. They don't open that thing to anybody. So I trust the coaches that they made the correct decision. And it went Milton, Hooker, and then Bailey. But from what we saw, the little that we saw in the dysfunction under Jeremy Pruitt, I mean, Bailey is – and John Gill says Bailey is too talented to be the number 3 guy. I have that same sort of feeling. I believe that Harrison Bailey, he has shown accuracy. Brian Maurer came in against Florida and he was overthrowing guys in the end zone in the stands, right? Like
the one
he has a rocket arm, but he can't control.
If this is 5 or 6 years from now, we're all hoping that our number 3 is a Mac Jones.
Right.
But this isn't 5 or 6 years from now. So he is too talented to be the number 3. We don't have that depth yet. If we have that depth, then we're set up for years. Look at them, blah, blah, blah. We don't have that yet. So totally agree with that comment for what we have in Knoxville right now.
Yeah. And I'm with you. I'll watch this game tomorrow because I want to see if he plays. I want to see if he plays well. I want this 3-headed QB controversy going into SEC play, and you're going to have that because of Milton's injury. You said it earlier. That opened the door to everything. That opened the door to Harrison Bailey actually staying in Knoxville. But if he doesn't play this week and it's all Hooker, and if Milton does get some snaps, I would leave too. I'm gone.
Watch this. I'm just going to throw it in there. I would like to hear people's opinion. I want to know your opinion. Hypothetically speaking, we all hope he doesn't leave. If you're him, where would you go? I know my spot.
And I can transfer anywhere, right?
Yeah, you can go anywhere right now. Because it's from my understanding. Keyword, my understanding. I haven't looked into depth, but think about it. Last year didn't count, so you're still a freshman right now. So if you leave early enough, you can still redshirt this year and only – you see what I'm getting at? Like last year kind of threw a wrench and everything. I know where I'm going.
Where are you going? Is it Clemson, Ole Miss, or Penn State?
Nope.
So they're 0 for 3.
Only Charlie knows because we talked about it post-game last week.
I want to go and there's another reason to watch our halftime post-game show. Live notifications on all Vols games all year long. So if you didn't play at Tennessee, you're not going to go to Alabama or Clemson or Ohio State. You're probably just not going to play. So it's got to be at a place where you can play and at least
we got some
earn
people
the
that are
job.
red hot. We got some people that are red hot.
Is it Georgia?
I would go to Georgia. You're from Georgia. It's your hometown team. JT Daniels, as long as he plays well enough, will leave. They don't have a guy after JT Daniels. Worst case scenario, he comes back next year. You're 1 year down. You still got 3 years. If I'm him, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, but see, everybody's got to remember, JT Daniels is a senior, but he's not because last year did not count.
Right.
If he wants to come back, he can. Now, would I if I were him? Depending on how he plays the rest of the year. But see, he's not even going to play this week, from my understanding. So I don't know. That's just, like I said, it's just a hypothetical question. I hope he doesn't leave, obviously.
Yeah,
But
no,
if he
and
does-
I hope he doesn't leave either, but I think he will if he doesn't play. And
I do too.
and that's
And you can't blame him.
It's
You
a
can't blame him
business.
for that.
It's turned into a business, right? When guys get cut or guys get traded in professional sports, it's a business, man. Sorry.
It is. Well, and NIL made it even. There's no amateurism nowadays. Now, because NIL, there's the definition of amateurism is out the window, right? So I saw a commercial, and I'm not going to say the team, but there was a starting quarterback for an ACC school that now is doing commercials for a roofing company,
right?
And so it's, first off, kudos, good for him, but amateurism's out the window. So you're right. This turned into a business, right? And
he's got to get. He's got to put himself.
Brent says that Georgia's got a 5-star quarterback and number 1 quarterback in the country on the bench. Has he played? He hasn't shown what he can do yet. Bailey was the same way.
Yeah, if you go to those type of places, you're going to have that type of talent, right? Harrison Bailey just wants an opportunity to compete and win. And unfortunately, he got backdoored by 2 transfer quarterbacks and a brand new head coach.
And that's the hard part about that. Well, see, that's the hard part in today's world of college football. If you're a coach, not the head coach, but an assistant coach, and your head coach gets fired, and the school's telling, oh, we're going to let you interview. You know you're not getting help. The new guy's going to bring in his own guys. It's very rare if you're a carryover. And if you're especially a quarterback, but quarterbacks and kickers are the only one plays really. If you are a quarterback, you best believe that if it's a quarterback head coach, he's going to bring in his guys. That's just the bottom line. And it sucks for him because the dude's a hell of a player. I hope he gets a chance, and I hope whoever plays, I hope plays well. But all I'm saying is if I'm him and I don't play this week, I got to have a talk with my inner circle, whoever that may be for him, about what's best for him.
Yeah, I'm with you. And to recap, they play Tennessee Tech at 11 a.m. early morning game Central Time tomorrow. You and I are on the same page. We think Hooker should get the majority of the snaps. We're looking to see if Harrison Bailey will play. And then, the whole caveat to this entire thing is if Milton comes out there and starts and plays really, really good, he's solidified the position heading into Florida. And you kind of want that. We'll talk about Florida Bama. You want to know and be secure in that's something I did like about Heupel heading into the season. And that leads us into our next question, which is, we'll start with the good news first. We'll save the bad news for the tail end. But what is the best thing that you've seen from the Vols in 2 games? We're going to put that in the chat. Comment in the comment section. We're broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. What is the best thing that you've seen from the Vols in 2 games thus far? But first, I do want to tell you guys about Bone and Joint Institute. Don't fumble on your recovery. If you have, I've had at the Bone and Joint Institute, Dr. Thomas has fixed my shoulder. I had a torn labrum. He's now at the Bone and Joint Institute. Austin has torn his ACL. His doctor is now at the Bone and Joint Institute. If you've got a hip injury or a leg injury, as you get older, you run into things that are unforeseen, right? You're playing basketball, something happens. Well, don't fumble on your recovery. Go to the Bone and Joint Institute. It's a state-of-the-art facility in Franklin, Tennessee. We broadcast there. Doc Talk is sponsored by there. They have really, really educated, smart doctors that can help you and fix you and improve your life. That is the big thing. Don't fumble on your recovery. Go to theboneandjointinstitute.com and visit them today. Crompton, tell the fine folks a little bit about BetMGM, though.
Yeah, BetMGM, guys, download the app today. We all are going to watch the game tonight. Let's just call it like it is. So why not make a little bit of money doing it, right? Use code A to Z100, $1 money line, $1. Right, so let's make some money with this. $1 money line wager wins you $100 if either team, UCF or Louisville, scores a touchdown. I like those odds, right? This is not going to be an Air Force Army game. UCF Louisville, $1 wins you $100. Code A to Z100.
Yes, and visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. Must be 21 years or older. Must be present in Tennessee. And for gambling problems and support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. All right, Crompton, the question that we're asking, give me some positivity. Hit it to me. What is the best thing that you've seen from the Tennessee Volunteers in the first two games this season?
I'm going to steal Matthew Blevins. Well, I take it back. You stole my answer, Matthew, right? The effort, man. They haven't quit. Last year before, it seems like they would have just kind of shut down, especially when things weren't going well. And I'm going to give a shout out to the defense, man. They've been put in some bad situations. They've got the bend but don't break mentality, and these guys are busting their rear end until the 60-minute hits. So to me, the best thing is, man, these guys, you can tell they're willing to fight for each other on the field and not just hang it up, especially when things don't go their way, which they have in the previous couple of years.
No, I think I'm with you. My best thing, and we'll go to the comments section. And Ricochet Ray says Austin looks like Jonathan Crompton. Jonathan Crompton looks like Austin.
No. Good job. Hey, Austin, you're welcome.
There you go. Blake Perry says the offense, if Milton doesn't throw 6 balls over the Smokies, we put up 40 points a game. There's a lot of ifs and buts, beer and nuts there. Tim says the wide receivers getting separation, haven't hit them, but they've consistently been open. What do you think about Tim's comment?
That's true, though. I guess the only ball that wasn't overthrown was when Hyatt went up for the deep ball in the end zone and kind of came down and fell wrong. But that was the only time that we hadn't just been 2 or 3 yards behind the defense. So yeah, I mean, I like it a lot because they have been open. We have schematically gotten guys to get open deep, but that's where I go back with. If we haven't hit it, we got to adjust and come back to short underneath stuff to get him in a rhythm.
No, absolutely. Randy brings up first quarter play. The past few years, it seems it'd take a half the game to get going. I've kind of seen that too. So, Randy, I'm going to follow that up. My best thing that I've seen from the Tennessee Volunteers, and we saw this too much last year with Jared Garantano, is they'd get in a game and then Garantano would throw the football into the other person's hands and the game would be over. They've protected the football pretty well. Now, they've had their mistakes. I'm not going to sit there and say they'd be perfect, but I thought they've protected the ball and given them the opportunity to be in that pit game. Yeah, I thought that they could come back and win. That 4th down call was huge. You score there, I do think that it is a different game. Yep. And I would say this: they had the first down. They had
dude, that's oh my god.
That's unfortunate.
Atrocious,
but, it's human error
or spot.
It's a bad spot, and it changes the entire complexity of the game. But I do think that they've protected the ball well enough, and that's key heading into SEC play because those teams, Florida will eat your lunch if you turn the ball over and you give them 6 points or you give them a field goal. They usually will turn that into to a touchdown. But I've been impressed with how Heupel has done that, and I'll add on to that is Heupel's offense. I like seeing Heupel's offense. I did not like Jeremy Pruitt's philosophy of is the old school run the ball and play good defense and I formation and all that stuff. Yep. And that offense only works if you don't make mistakes.
Well, today's game has changed. It used to be we're going to run to set up the pass. Now you're passing to set up the run game. the beauty of football is a never-ending evolution, right? And I say that meaning exactly what you're saying. We're not going to go out there in I formation, 2 tight ends, fullback, and just the old Alabama before Kiffin got there. And we're just going to pound it. Oh, play action. That era is done. And Heupel, he's done a good job in coming up with schemes to kind of really transfer into to today's age.
Yeah, and I think he set him up for success to win football games. And that I think is key. And Tim says 5 turnovers in 2 games. Well, Guarantee these are pick sixes, right? Like there's a couple of years ago, Florida, that game was over in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You remember that? It was 14-0.
Well, and to kind of go off of that, even though there's 5 turnovers, that's where I go back to the effort. And I had a specific note here about the defense. I put the defense has been put in bad field position, and I put in all caps a lot. And they've played well, and they've got the bend but don't break mentality. If we do turn it over, but we only give up 3 points, that is still a win if we turn it over on our side of the 50. All right, and we've done that a few times, but our defense has our back. That's the thing to me that's so encouraging is our defense is not going, screw it, God, again. And you could tell that used to be the kind of the mindset was, well, damn it, here we go again. Now it's, we've got this. We know we're going to come back. That, so I understand that those turnovers, but they don't feel like they're catastrophic right now.
Right. And I think that's
now they can be, but they haven't been, which is a positive.
Yeah, and the defense has played well. The defenses at times have been swarming, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
seriously,
and that's
it's been fun. The defense has been, I'm saying this as a quarterback, it's been one of the most fun things to watch so far on the team because the energy. And I said last week, I would much rather go to a guy and say, dude, you've got to slow down. Don't hit after, don't, do whatever it is to get a penalty, blah, 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 rather than going, you need to pick your effort up. And you can tell it's that we've got to tell them to stop, back off. That's easier than saying, man, your effort's not there because, well, then it's just not going to be there.
So I got a quarterback question.
Okay.
For a quarterback, what kind of confidence does it give you when you have a defense and you're not doubting said defense, right? Like we've seen, and you come to the sidelines, maybe you've made a mistake or maybe you've scored a touchdown. I don't think it really matters. And you come back to the sidelines, you're trying to get organized, but maybe when you're, and here's a side question. Did you watch the game or were you concentrating on your next series?
No, I'm with you. It helps a lot. And actually, that's a great question because what you can actually take from that is it's a really in-depth answer. So I'm going to try to say it in an abbreviated way. You can tell how much confidence a coach and a quarterback have in their defense depending on the play calls they call. Okay. If they're not afraid to go 3 and out, they've got, and I say that meaning not just going, hey, inside zone, 4 times 3 is 12, right? But if they're taking the shots like we have we hit them? No. But do I expect us to down the road? Yes, because it's only going to get better. So when they take those shots, that does show they have confidence in the defense to say, we know you're going to get our back because we're going to show teams we're going to take our shots. Yeah, we may put ourselves in a kind of behind the 8 ball offensively, but you're going to get us out of this. So that's another way of looking at it. And then, if you have the confidence in your defense, you just go over there, you get ready for your next drive, knowing that they're going to get you the ball back via turnover, or if we turn it over, really deep in our own end zone or our own side of the field, they only give up a field goal, something like that. So I kind of feel like that's where we're at because our defense is playing really well.
When you were a quarterback, did you watch the game? Did you watch the game, or were you concentrated on your next series?
I did. I concentrated on the next series because, to me, I would live by. I tell my kids all the time, STM, short-term memory, meaning the last play. There's nothing you can do about it right now. Good, bad, and different. There's physically nothing you can do about that last play. Touchdown, interception, 3 and out, incomplete pass, completion short of the down the game, whatever. Nothing you can do about it. So just move on, get ready for the next thing because the defense is over there. When their offense is on the field, their defense is getting ready for the next drive as well. So we've got to get ready. How are they going to adjust? So that was my mentality.
Very interesting. Let's get to our next question. We asked, what's the best thing that you've seen from the Vols in 2 games? We're not pulling any punches. What's the worst thing that you've seen from the Vols in 2 games? You know, they're not 2-0, they're 1-1. So comment in the comment section. We're broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. What's the worst thing that you've seen from the Vols in 2 games? But first, I do want to tell you guys about Wilson County Hyundai. Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go to get your next ride. The 2021 Palisade is sleek. It is unbelievable for a family. You got 3rd row seating. You got bucket captain seats right there in the back, and you have all the bells and whistles and the technology of Apple CarPlay, all for a great price. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can look at their inventory. I own a Sonata. I love that 4-door sedan. You got a Santa Fe. You can have the Elantra. They have your perfect make and model. You just maybe not know about it. You got a son or daughter about to turn 16, a Christmas gift, whatever it is. If you're thinking about a car, go to WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Crompton, tell the fine folks about BetMGM.
BetMGM, guys, go download the app today. BetMGM. Use code A to Z100, $1 money line tonight. UCF Louisville. Either team scores a touchdown, you win $100. Like I've said it earlier. I mean, you can't beat those odds. 100-1 odds. I like my chances. I'm going to go play tonight. Download the BetMGM app. Let's have some fun with it. Come play with me.
There you go. So our next question, we're going best and worst. We've talked about the best. The question is, what is the worst thing that you've seen from the Vols in 2 games? Rob says penalties. Jason says Milton. Ben says they left 21 points on the field against Pitt, so that undisciplined. Milton from Sean Gill. 0 forced turnovers is bad, especially against Bowling Green, from Matthew, because Bowling Green is a bad football program right now. And we saw that. Jeremy Banks making the same mistakes. Worst thing is quarterback play. 5 turnovers in 2 games from Brent. The worst thing is the quarterback play, plain and simple. Milton, because he's trash. Second quarter play. So, you had Randy say first quarter play was good, but second quarter play, it kind of regresses. Yeah. Coaching decisions from Danny. Got a lot more comments for worse than best, but that's kind of how it goes when you're 1-1, and maybe you should have beaten that Pitt team. William says O-line depth. What do you think, Crompton?
That's actually a pretty good comment, that last one. But I've got 2, but I've got to narrow it down to 1, and I'm going to just say overall quarterback play in the sense of only because of the overthrows. Is it fixable? 1,000%. You know what I mean? So at least it's not catastrophic as of yet.
Okay.
But it is
will
fixable.
It be fixed? Well, it is fixable.
That's
will
the $1 billion question. Will it be? I have no idea. Can it be? Yes. It just because the plays are there to be made, we just got to make them. And the reason why I say they can be fixed, worst case scenario, it's just we fix it with a quarterback change. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of left that a little vague and open-ended because it can be fixed. It's just a matter of, do we fix it, and whether it's with Milton or not.
So I think you're correct, because that was my worst, is the overthrows.
Yeah. This
entire football team, I think we view them differently if they hit 2 of those passes.
Yeah. Well,
and those they're touchdowns.
Boy, I like that you said that. I just want to say something real quick about that, because what we're all not understanding, and I'm saying this to myself as well, those are the least percentage throws in football, right? They only hit, if you hit it at like 35 to 40%, you're a Hall of Famer. Because the farther you get, the less completion percentage there is. So you're right. If we just hit 2 of those, we're all thinking of this totally differently. Right, because then that would be 2 out of 6. We're 33%. We're going, okay, yeah. The other ones, yeah, but we hit those 2. We just haven't hit them.
But that's Milton's MO, right? Like if he hits one of those at the beginning of the Pitt game and it goes to 17-0 or something, like something crazy, or 14-0, whatever it would have been. I think the perception has changed about Milton, but if that is your MO and that's your bread and butter, you got to put butter on the bread then.
Yeah.
And we have not seen that. So Hooker's going to get his chance, and we're going to see if Harrison Bailey gets his chance tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Time. But yeah, I think that's my worst. Is that this is the excitement of the offense. I think, man, this is a much better football team than it was last year. You got to be excited about what Heupel. You could have said the best thing is Josh Heupel. I mean, I thought about that. But Josh Heupel has come in there in a very short time, and I think he made a tough decision with Salter, kicking his ass off the team because he needed to, because he messed up enough times, and basically, Salter basically put a middle finger to his head coach and says, "I'm not going to listen to you." He had to have a hard decision because he would have been we would have been talking about him too, Caden Salter, because of what he was coming out of high school and all of that stuff. And Rob brings up with a slim roster. Heupel had not really been able to get his hands fully on this roster. He won't be able to till next offseason and then another couple of years, right? Because recruiting is the life of college football. But I like what Heupel's done. I've always been positive Heupel because I believe in that type of offense. And I finally, for the first time, I liked what Tennessee as a university did. I liked their approach.
Whoa, we need to get a clip of this.
No, I've gone on record. I liked the approach. They have been throwing spaghetti at the wall for a decade plus.
Yeah.
And none of it has stuck.
No.
So instead of going to get the Saban retread defensive coordinator that is old country boy Phil Fulmer's buddy that didn't work and ended up putting you in a worse spot, they went out and targeted a program that was not at the SEC level, but that wheels were turning. They were working. It was a machine, right? We had seen that. So they went out and they targeted Central Florida and they got both of their guys.
Yep.
Will it work? I have no clue. I don't think Tennessee knows. We're not Miss Cleo. We can't see in the future. But I at least respect the vision of Tennessee to go target a program and say, look, we got more money. We got bigger boosters. We got a better facility. We got a much bigger fan base, which can hurt at times because of the way they act, but it's still, they can bring a lot of money. And if you're good, they will carry you on a chair right down, Neyland Lane.
And I'm going to elaborate on that. Another reason why I've always been on the Heupel kind of bandwagon. He was comfortable where he was at. You're living in Orlando, Florida. You're making good money, and you take a job and you don't even know the sanctions yet. We still don't know the sanctions from Pruitt's era, and he still took the job. That says something to me about his integrity, and I love that, because if I'm a parent of a kid that's getting recruited by Tennessee, how can you turn that down? You know what I mean? Like in the sense of him saying, I came to this place in the complete unknown, in the sense of how I'm going to be able to get this roster, because this might be, Southern Cal of the 2010 where they get 20 scholarships. We don't know, right? Him taking that in the unknown, to me, shows that he is dedicated to the university. And I like that.
I will say this, and those are all fair points. I think he came to the university because of job stability with Danny White.
And you may very well be right. But he can say what I said in the recruitment tool.
No, he absolutely can. But I think he goes to Tennessee because Tennessee has been a turnstile for coaches, right? You've had 5 coaches in 10 years or 20
and we can pay
whatever,
more money.
Right? You 5 coaches in 20 years. That he went to Tennessee with the sanctions because Danny said, trust me. Look, I may fire you one day. I don't want to, but that's the industry. Yeah. I'm going to at least give you a little bit more time if you run the program the way that you ran Central Florida's, and you get Tennessee back to relevance. Will Josh Heupel be a national championship head coach? I don't know.
We don't know.
But I think he can, and I've been on record as saying this. I think Josh Heupel can get Tennessee to win 9 games. And if you win 9 games, you can win 10 or 11.
Yeah,
you can.
Because you can, at that point, you're always going to have that. Like I said last week, post game, you were going to have one game a year that you are not supposed to win that you pull out. You've got to have that to win championships. You have to have that. 98, Tennessee never should have beat Arkansas. Dude fumbles the ball trying to keep his knee up. We get the ball back. We win the game. You're always going to have that to win a championship. And so, I mean, I agree with you on that. I just think that I have been on record saying this about college athletics. College athletics is such a business that they will tell you anything on God's green earth to get you to come to their school, right? But you've got to kind of read between the BS to find out what's true and what's not. And I genuinely think that he wanted to be back in major college football, Power 5, being at Oklahoma, being at Missouri. Now he can be a head coach at the Power 5 at a school like Tennessee that is a place you want to retire. All right. That's why I think he took the job personally. Yes, I think Danny had a big help in that. Familiarity, comfortability with him, understanding that he's a friend. But knowing that, they can pay more money, but it's the challenge. And if you're in that business, you have to be willing to accept a challenge to win. Nick Saban went to Alabama when Alabama was trash. Let's just call that like it is. He accepted the challenge of rebuilding that brand, right? So that's why and it's just a personal opinion. That's why I think Heupel took the job as saying, you know what? I can be that guy for these kids. Keyword kids. I can help them get the kids that I need in-house. It's going to take me 4 or 5 years because we don't know what sanctions I'm going to get, but we're going to rebuild this and show people what Tennessee can be. And if it's me wholeheartedly believing that and I'm on that staff, that's my recruiting tool. That's all you got to say. Because if you're a parent and you don't love to hear that, I mean, I get goosebumps talking about it, right? If you're a parent and you don't love to hear that, then you don't need to be at Tennessee.
Yeah, well, and this is kind of the caveat to what I think needs to happen. He can't start out of the gate and win 9 games, or he can't go 6-win season to 9-win season back to 6-win season. That's where the fan base will clip you.
You can't do the Will Muschamp.
You really want to win 6 games this year, because you don't. I'm going to be the outsider guy that looks in and says, if I could write you a script, this is what you need to follow. You need to win 6 games this year, whether you go to a bowl game or not, because of the sanctions, who knows, right? You're probably self-imposed and you just don't go. 6 games. Next year, you need to win 7, and you need to upset a team or take care of your business, honestly, and beat Missouri and beat Kentucky, beat Vanderbilt, and beat South Carolina. Those are 4 wins, and you got how many non-conference? You got to beat your Pitts. I don't know who the non-conference they play next year, but you can win 7 games by just taking care of your business. By year 3, that is when the pressure and the roster should be level enough to beat a Florida or Georgia, or at least compete. You need to win, though. You got to win one of those.
You have to.
And you don't have to win the East in year 3. You just have to beat Florida on maybe they have a down year, or Georgia, their quarterback gets hurt or something. You get lucky, right? Essentially. Alabama is going to be the hardest thing because they're always going to be on your schedule because the rivalry stuff. But and I don't know the switch up because of Texas and Oklahoma. But that's the stair-step process that I think is the perfect recipe for Tennessee to get back into a conversation. When you say SEC East, you say Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee. Right now, when you say SEC East, you say Georgia or Florida.
Yep. Yeah, and it hurts. It hurts me to say it, but no, you're 100% right. And that's, I'm looking at Will Muschamp's schedule. His wins, South Carolina, he goes 6 wins, 9 wins, 7 wins, and then year 4 right down to 4 wins. So when you're in year 4, he shouldn't have made it as long as he did. And that's the thing is, like, you're right. With Heupel, in year 3, you've got to beat Florida, Georgia, if not both. In year 4, you've got to be willing to compete for the East. That's the expectation.
And you can't restart anymore, right? Like, the engine won't turn.
No.
Like the guts of the machine are worn. You can't keep trying to restart it. And so you got to kind of keep it running for a little while. And that's hard to do in Tennessee. But if you keep it running for 4 years, then you can get to your 5 and 6. And if you have to fire a coach to get a better coach, then that may be the case. And if Heupel is able to kick it in gear and start riding down the interstate, then you're good. But that you can't keep restarting. So hopefully this is the last restart for.
Well, I mean, look at Southern Cal. Fire Clay Helton after a 1-1 start, but it's the same thing there. Their expectation is like our expectation. They never got over the hump. I don't know exactly what year he's in, but it's like 7 or 8 or something like that. And he said, man, sorry, dude, we got to move on because we love what you're doing, but you're not producing the way we need to produce. And that's the same expectation we have at Tennessee is we can't let it go 7 or 8 years and not ever get over that hump like they did. You know what I mean? I think they waited a little too long on Clay. And so I think that I think you hit the nail on the head. Year 4, you got to be willing to really make a charge, but you got to start beating people year 3.
No, I think we'll find out what happens quickly before we get to good news. What do you think about Florida and Alabama this week? You know, Alabama, I hate talking about them because they're just it's the inevitable. And what Nick Saban, as you mentioned before, he's built that. We didn't know that Alabama was going to become what Alabama has, but here they are, and they keep getting great players. But Florida, I mean, I'll ask you, as a Tennessee fan, what do you want to happen on Saturday?
You don't want to know. Both
Everybody
teams,
get hurt? I don't know. I mean,
you know what I mean? Both teams to lose? Can that happen? And not even a tie. Let's give them both an L. But honestly, I really, for the SEC East race, I want Florida to lose because of the East, but you know, Florida's they don't have a solidified QB either. So they're not, it's not like they're, you know, just astronomically better than us. They have a quarterback situation that they're kind of going through as well. But Alabama's rolling well, and this kind of leads into what you talked about earlier. The last time Alabama lost to an SEC East opponent, 2010 versus South Carolina.
I remember that game. I remember
2010. Dude, we're in 2021.
Oh, Steven Garcia.
Yeah. Think about that.
God knows what Steven Garcia did after that game.
31 straight games against SEC East without a loss. So does that streak end? I don't know. Do I hope it does? I don't know. Because I don't know which team I hate more, Florida or Alabama. Like, I don't know. So I can't really say who I want. I don't like either one of them. But that's a crazy stat to me.
That is wild, and Alabama itself is just ridiculous. I hope the game's close. I have Florida to cover 15, which is crazy. I just want it to be close. Maybe the Swamp has that. They got to keep Alabama's quarterback in the pocket and make him throw tough passes in coverage. And Alabama tends to get him outside and have him make the quarterback decision of running for a first down or throwing for a first down. And that usually ends up in a first down or a touchdown, which is even crazy.
Yeah.
So
you know what's crazy to me? The Alabama spreads, like legit. They were 20 over Miami. I'm sitting there going, how do you're that much better than everybody? Like, are you really that much better than everybody year to year right now?
The answer is yes. Yes, they are.
It obviously is because they're covering those spreads. Like, it's crazy. I'll be interested to the Georgia if and when Georgia and Alabama play. I'd be interested in that spread because of Georgia's defense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get to our final segment, and that is Ain't That Good News? It's Friday, and that means Ain't That Good News. We end the week every single week on Good News Friday. So I'm going to put that to the chat. I'm going to comment and say, give us your good news in the chat. But Crompton, the floor is yours. Give us some good news on this Friday to send us off into the weekend.
I like it. Good news is just personal. It's kind of a silly thing, but me and my wife we've been wanting a husky for a long time, and oddly enough, we randomly found a red husky, which is what we've been wanting, at our local shelter. So we adopted another dog. And the one we've been wanting. That's the crazy part. Instead of going to a breeder, found one at our local shelter and rescued her, and now she is passed out on our couch.
That's great. What's her name?
Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata. I like it.
Yes. We like to give some cool names in our household.
So you were telling me a little bit about you have multiple dogs.
We have 5.
You have 5 dogs. What are their names?
So we've got, if I can't say them too loud because they might wake up and go crazy.
Oh yeah, that's great, right?
It's funny. They all have their original name and then just random names that they answer to, right? But Oakley is our original one, and then we've got Knox, obviously Knoxville. We've got Nola because we love the city of New Orleans. We've got Taco because of why not Taco Tuesday, right? So that's his actual name is Taco Tuesday, and then now Hakuna Matata.
Man, this household knows how to name pups. I'll tell you that.
So my wife she's good at it. She's a veterinary practice manager, so she sees a lot of interesting names in the computer system. So we just, when they come home, we let them hang out for a few days and see their personality and just kind of randomly name them and see what they answer to. And yeah, that one kind of stuck with her.
That's awesome. Well, that is good news. We're going to get to the chat here in a second. For Ain't That Good News as we roll into our weekend. But first, I do want to talk about Renters Warehouse. Renters Warehouse, the professional landlords that you need. It's very, very simple. $89 a month can help you and take all of the hassle off of your plate. If you have a property that you want to rent out, just call Renters Warehouse or go online at renterswarehouse.com. They are Nashville's professional landlords. And $89 a month, what happens is they set up great tenants with background checks. The management fee is very minimal. Like I said, $89 a month, and they take care of everything. They take care of collections. They make sure that it is in your bank account, and it creates another cash flow. That's renterswarehouse.com. Let's go to the chat a little bit. Aaron says his good news is he's getting a new back door on Monday. Zach Goodman says good news that the minor league baseball team here in Chattanooga finally won on Thursday night.
The Lookouts.
Right? There you go. With the Lookouts. That's right. Yep. Let's see here. Danny says this is the last weekend before deer season starts next Saturday. Ain't that good news? That is good news. Big Ten Jeff says good news. Ohio State is making defensive changes and has Tulsa this week to try them out. So Big Ten Jeff's licking his wounds from the Oregon beatdown or win, I would say, not beatdown, but win at Ohio State this past week. And then Brent says good news is either Florida or Alabama will lose this weekend.
Love it. Optimistic side. I love it.
Right? That is good. My good news is that for the first time in a long time, I will have a full weekend that I will be in Nashville. I've been traveling, setting up our Dallas market, which is thriving and doing very, very well. But I'm going to have the weekend to sit back and watch college football. The NFL game is late, so we are doing a pregame show that I want everybody in Nashville to come out to, and that is for away games. We'll be at Mill Creek Tap Room right there on the screen. It's an awesome tap room. It's got tons of space. We'll be watching the games there. But tonight, I don't have any plans. My girlfriend's going to a concert with some of her friends. Just hanging back. It's going to be a nice, relaxing weekend because I'll have to be back in Dallas at some point in the next couple of weeks. So my good news, nice, relaxing weekend full of football and using that BetMGM app, seeing if I could up the bankroll.
There you go.
There you go. And then David says charity golf tournament tomorrow with his handicap. They should crush it. So,
I got to know what's the handicap. I got to know what's your number.
I'd like. If you could, do you play golf, Crompton?
I do. I haven't got to play in a long time. I used to play a lot more than I have lately. So I don't know what my handicap would be right now.
Yeah, mine would be very bad. I don't.
It used to be pretty good, but man, I hadn't played in a while. I got a tournament coming up in 2 weeks though, so I should probably go play a few times.
There you go. You get to the range. Well, hey, special thanks to Jonathan Crompton and David is a 13 handicap. There you go.
That's not bad.
No,
I'll give you credit for that.
That's not bad at all. But hey, Crompton, appreciate you enjoyed this Vols talk going into a weekend where a lot of questions, I think, look, I know they play Tennessee Tech, but the quarterback question, Harrison Bailey question, turnover question, all of those will be answered, plus Florida and Alabama. We thank all of you guys for watching and listening, and we will see you on Monday. Adios.